Literally anything you want to talk about.
Seat.
And I've tagged you up on Facebook and everything.
Is Brian coming in today?
Yeah.
I have a Facebook page.
Yeah, I tagged you up. Both of them, business and pleasure. So.
Business and pleasure.
Yep.
Nice.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, cool. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the MulletCast, the podcast where business and pleasure collide. My name's Evan Balmer.
What's going on? My name is Mike Marcia.
What's happening, Mike? Today we are joined by Josh Vallario of Vallario Properties. You can find Josh online at VallarioPropertiesLLC.com and on Facebook at Vallario Properties LLC. Vallario's Vallario. Vallario specializes in the redeveloping of distressed realty assets. In a nutshell. What's going on, Josh?
Hello. How was everyone?
Good.
How are
Good.
you?
You have an Instagram for the business?
Personal.
Personal, all right.
Nothing business.
Okay.
So
I had to
You've
ask.
come to the wrong place.
yeah, it's just
Your business and
pictures of
pleasure.
my kids and my wife, who's way too pretty for me.
Sweet. You seem to be very, you're a little bit confused this morning because you started out like asking us what a podcast is exactly. So you have
Yeah.
no idea what you're here for, do you?
No, and I used to work in technology for 17 years, and I'm the least technical person out there
Right.
at this point in my life. So
So how did you get into technology?
it was a means to an end. I went to school for television and radio, actually.
Did you?
There you go. You're in the right spot. Yeah.
And you haven't looked at the industry since college.
I had this stint of male modeling, but it ended there when they asked me to take my clothes off and they saw what they were in store for.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Kane. I started out, I was a poli-sci crim justice major. I wanted to be a DEA agent.
Nice.
And yeah,
Hence our conversation prior to the podcast about
Yeah.
conversion ratios for
yeah,
weed.
all
let's
coming
just
together.
let's just say college was a new experience for me, and you know, I finally was able to party with the best of them.
Right.
So I was academically dismissed
Okay.
Nice.
from school after my first year.
1 year in. Nice.
Started working, I don't even think it was a year in, started working for a builder down in Belmar. And I was a framer. So I was on the third story ridge beam overlooking the ocean because the project was 2 blocks from the beach. And I looked out on the ocean. I looked down and I see the owner of the project, a guy named Brett, ride his bicycle with his 2 little kids in tow on their bikes, and he was coming to check the status of this project. It was like 10 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And I'm sitting up there looking at the ocean. I'm looking at Brett down there, and I said, wow, this is what I want to do for my life.
Right.
I want to build stuff, and I want to build it here in Belmar.
That's cool.
And so I worked and worked, saved up some money, got back into college. Prior to that, I was bouncing around from couch to couch to couch. I didn't have anywhere to live. I was
Right.
basically stealing food from the people's houses I was crashing at. And I saved up enough money, got back into college, decided to go into broadcast communications because it was easy. It was something I could do while I was working 65 hours a week and
Gotcha.
taking 18 credits. Did that and got out, and I said, technology, I can make a lot of money. And I actually got a job in the city before I even graduated for a broker-dealer. I was making more money than I thought I would, and hated every minute of it.
Right.
Oh, boy, did I hate it. But I knew I would take all that money, put it away, so I could start my real estate business. And as things progressed, I bought my first flip in 2004. Turned out it wasn't a flip. I had just gotten out of an 8-year relationship. My father had just died, and I just changed jobs, a long-time job, after 5 years, all within the same month or two.
Right.
So,
That's a lot.
Yeah, my brain was all over the place. And I just went out and started drinking beer because I was newly single.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was never single as a successful person.
It's a whole new ballgame, huh?
So I actually had money in my pocket to like go and have fun with and be a big shot with.
Right.
So I instead of renovating this house, I gutted it, except my bedroom
Right.
and one bathroom, and I was chasing women,
Right.
and
In a gutted house.
in a gutted house.
There you go.
Yeah, and the market changed, and
For women or for real estate?
no, the market was always a market for the women.
Okay.
The real estate market changed,
Right.
and because it was 3 years now that I was living in this gutted house, and the market changed, and I wound up living there.
Right.
So I finished the renovations and kept saving my money. The market, it was going down, 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 down. But during that time, I was always bouncing around Weehawken, Jersey City, Union City, all those areas up in Union and Essex and Hudson counties, trying to buy, these 10, 15, 20 unit apartment buildings, thinking I was going to syndicate a deal.
Right.
And, I had no experience with that. And
Right.
I was going to syndicate, and I was going to get people to invest with me. And so I was doing all these cash flow models and these TCO models and looking at, 24 prop buildings a weekend, every
Right.
weekend.
Wow.
And I did that for years. But while I was doing that, I was saving my money.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, the market, it was 2010. The market was going to be as bad as it was going to be.
Right.
And I had some coin, and I stumbled across Asbury Park. And I found this old 1895 Victorian. And I said, holy shit, I could buy this. I have some money.
Right.
Let me restore this house. And I did it. Everybody told me I was crazy. And I did it. And it was the most it was the scariest thing I've ever done. First of all, I was I had it at that time. I had an executive level job. I was designing, managing the construction and technical operations of large scale data centers all over the world.
Right.
So I had 75 people working for me
Right.
globally, at least, not including the third party contractors.
And then how many hours are you logging doing that? I mean, that's got to be an intense job, right?
It was pretty intense.
Right.
So at the time, I was building a data center in East Wenatchee, Washington State. It's like the apple picking capital of the world.
Right.
It's one of those places where you can go to a steakhouse, get your car washed, your brakes done, your oil change, and do your laundry while you eat your steak, all
love
in
that.
one building.
That's actually my dream. Is I also want to be able to watch your car being washed from inside the restaurant,
Yeah.
like a glass wall, and see the car wash.
Yeah.
Like that would be sweet.
It
Are you in? Like I'm looking to put this together.
no. East Wenatchee's your place. I mean, I think the town had a full mouth of teeth between
Right.
all the 2,000 residents that were there.
So what's the size of like a data center? Like what size projects are you talking about?
Data centers are calculated based on power.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was building rather large sites. I mean,
Right.
It was 1,000 kV lines, 15 megawatt substations that we were building. All of the backup battery and generator systems and the cooling
Right.
systems. That last job I did was almost $100 million.
Wow.
Wow.
I was responsible for the acquisitions of the land, the coordination of the Startup New York pilot program with the New York State and the local Amherst IDA for the tax benefits for the municipality.
Right.
And managing the engineering stream and managing the construction. And then the day 2 implementation, which was the move-in of all the technology kit.
Right.
So I was running that job in East Wenatchee and flying out to Seattle, on like a Sunday or Monday.
Right.
Flying back on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and then putting my tool belt on and going to work in Asbury Park.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 5 or 6 months. It was 5 months maybe, that project was. And I spent all the money I had to get this done. I borrowed a little bit from my mother
Right.
and did the project, sold it, in really the worst time of real estate history that any of us are ever going to know.
Right.
And made money. And it was right at that time I met my wife.
There you go.
And she said, "Oh, the next one you're going to do for us." So we bounced around Belmar and the area. I said, "Look," I said, "Yeah, I want to be in Belmar. I want to be in Belmar. I want to be in Belmar since I was 19, 20 years old."
Mm-hmm.
And bought a piece of property in Belmar and said, "You know what? This house is a piece of shit. Let's tear it down."
Right.
She said, "What do you mean tear it down?" I said, "Fuck it, let's tear it down." She said, "You got this?" I said, "I got this, don't worry." So I had a mortgage out.
You might be familiar with my work in East Wenatchee area. Of course, I got this.
Trust me, I do data centers. I can build a house.
Right.
So I had a 80% mortgage out with a traditional lender, and of course I broke a bunch of rules when I tore the house down. I didn't tell him.
Was that a renovation loan?
No,
right.
it was a traditional.
Okay.
I read some documents where I said if I don't have a roof, I really am supposed to tell them.
Yeah.
So I was really, I had my ass in the air for a little bit.
Yeah.
For 3-4 months until I was dried in, and built the house. Took a hiatus from my business. Built the house, and once the house was built, I started buying more properties in Asbury Park.
Right.
I was really into distressed, non-performing multifamily assets. I was buying all the crack houses, the multifamily crack houses that I could find.
Right.
I was gut renovating them and turning them into luxury rentals for the millennials, and kept doing that, flipping a house here and there. Next thing you know, I'm doing 6 or 7, units a year, and I woke up and I realized I worked 7 days a week for 12 years, and I can't do that anymore. I had 2 little kids. I have 2 little kids.
Right.
And I said to my wife, I said, I can't do this. It's time for me to give up one, and I'm not going to give up my children's legacy that I've created. I'm gonna leave BlackRock, and that's the company I was working for at the time. I was there for 11 years, and everyone was like, "Nobody leaves BlackRock. It's a great company. You have a great gig there." And I said, "I know, but do I give up what I've created, or do I give up a corporate job that if I died tomorrow, nobody's going to give a shit about?"
Right.
And my wife said, "You should have left 5 years ago. You had the means to do it then. Just do it." And I at that moment, it was a very defining moment. I realized that I had achieved a point where I had been working for so hard, but I never realized I had achieved it until that moment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was scary. I have a picture of the last E-train I took, and that was almost 3 years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
How many properties have you flipped in Asbury?
Well, you can make it count.
Ballpark.
I didn't know there'd be a test today.
Yeah, I would say 9 or 10, but
Nice.
I own rentals there.
Okay.
So I kept the rentals.
In what section?
Northwest.
Nice.
Yeah,
So-
it's the section next to Wanamasa. I have
It's beautiful over there.
I have a big piece of property on the east side, a couple blocks from the beach, that I am working on redeveloping.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rather famous property down there that I was lucky enough to finagle, get it, and so I'm pushing that through. I'm building a new house on a piece of property I bought 2016. So that actually the first floor is already framed, so that one's going to be done and up for sale probably in March or April. And I've got a new, mostly new construction, one that Evan is familiar with, in Spring Lake Heights.
Okay.
That I purchased and quickly called him in a panic. I bought it from auction, and I thought I had made a very large mistake. And did a bunch of plans, figured out a way to make the house profitable with an obscene amount of work. So basically, I'm taking another 700 square foot cape and making it a 3,000 square foot colonial.
Okay.
So
Wow.
it's a lot.
That's-
It's a lot of
Yeah,
work.
it's a lot.
It's a lot of money. But I already sold it.
Yeah.
So, which brings a whole nother set of challenges.
Right.
When
Yeah.
a buyer comes in and says they want, tens of thousands of dollars in changes.
Yeah.
So
Now, the first property in Asbury, you said 2010?
it was 10. Yeah.
10? What made you do Asbury? Because 10 years, 8 years, a lot has changed.
Sure.
Probably big risk choosing that.
It was a big risk, and it was a beautiful house, and I got the house for $205,000 maybe. It was a 2,800 square foot Victorian beautiful house, and it was vacant for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And it was a big risk, but I was I drove around the street. First of all, it's by the beach,
Yeah.
right? And it's essentially like a Red Bank, but cooler type of urban suburban environment by the beach.
Yeah.
And it's really the only thing in Jersey that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was driving down the streets, and all I saw was, these gay pride flags everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, the saying that I have is, you know what color those are? And everybody's like, orange, green. I'm like, no, those are green.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's money.
Mm-hmm.
The homosexual community, they what they've done with that neighborhood is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
They came down and they saw something that nobody else saw.
Yeah.
And they wanted to create an area unlike any other. And they have been completely successful in doing that. And, even in 2010, I mean, that work was already done. Right?
Yeah.
The Asbury, it wasn't an area on the, tongues of the empty nesters and the Brooklynites, and it wasn't there yet, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
Some say it was actually cooler then than it is now, it finally turned. It crested that corner, and it's become that household name, that destination point for everybody now.
Yeah.
And it's definitely affected other shore towns. It's been, I ran for council in my town 2 years in a row, and my big thing was, we're seeing, and we're going to continue to see, an economic drain out of our community into Asbury Park, and
Yeah.
it's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened for a lot of short towns, and there's also something called the Asbury effect, where it's also boosted some things in the surrounding towns. But I think, in terms of like restaurants and things of that nature, it's definitely affected the surrounding
Without a
towns.
doubt, Asbury has set the par higher.
Yeah.
You can't be a cool shore town now. Everyone could have a bar.
Right.
Or you can have a venue for live music.
Yep.
The restaurants in Asbury off Cookman are some of the best.
Sure.
Yep.
You gotta step it up. Otherwise, you're gonna lose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. So what was the resale market like in 2010? You still had no problem selling it at that point?
I got a full price offer in 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow.
I
that's
made
quick.
I made my margin.
Right.
I made my 20 some odd %, whatever it was. However, I just met my wife at the time, and one of the reasons why I married her, other than the fact that she's really hot, is
That's awesome.
she would show up. I'd be working. She'd show up with little treats, little sandwiches and little waters,
Right.
and looking all cute. And she'd get up on a ladder and she'd grab some wood putty and fill nail holes.
Right.
Now, she's the biggest princess in the world, but for the fact that she would do that, for me, it was it resonated. But I said to her, I said, look, I said, I barely own anything in this house. It's gonna be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move here. Let's live here. It's a really cool town. And like you had said, Asbury still really, there was a lot of petty crime in that area still.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the time she was working in the city, she was getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. and leaving, and she had concerns. But every time I drive by that house, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I sold that house for $400 and some odd thousand. And
600 now range.
Oh, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 or 9.
That appreciation is
And,
crazy.
and every time I drive, and I can't drive through that neighborhood too much because every house I see that's turned over or bought or's got it's a deal that I've turned down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was buying houses for $30,000 to $200,000 back then,
Yeah.
and these houses still unrenovated are now going for 400 and change.
Yeah.
I've been chasing this beautiful English Tudor for 10 years at least. Made contact with the owners. We're losing it to the bank. Made contact. They're Facebook friends of mine. Cell phones. Like, hey, I'm sending them written, signed contracts for 10 freaking years.
Yeah.
And I heard that they were in litigation for with their bank for predatory lending, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, in the last couple of months, I haven't been paying attention. I just drove by yesterday. House is half renovated.
Yeah.
I look at the tax record, and a guy I know in town fucking bought it for the same amount of money. I sent them a signed contract for 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it fucking kills me.
Right.
Do you think it's at a peak right now? So if you were to buy a home that's 400 now, a full gut, you think you're gonna get your money's worth? It's gonna keep going up.
Depends what your purpose is.
Okay.
If you're an end user that you want a second home or you want your primary residence and you're willing and that's really a lot of where my competition is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
These end users are willing to do these projects now.
Right.
But if you're an end user willing to take on a project like that and you're going to be there 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, it's going to be your death house, whatever it is, and you're wrapping up into conventional financing with our rates are still
low. Yeah.
I mean, historically, we're still low.
Right.
I grew up in the '80s, and my parents' mortgage was 18%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
That's nuts.
it's all relative,
Yeah.
right? So 5-6% is still a good rate.
Yeah.
Sure.
But if you're an end user and you buy an unrenovated house and put the money in it, or you buy a renovated house and pay the other guy's margin,
Yeah.
even if it drops and it goes down a little bit, if you're going to be there over time,
It's gonna come back
time
up.
is your friend when
Yeah.
you're an end user.
Yeah.
So are there still untapped areas in Asbury, do you think, also? Like, do you think that...
No, everything is saturated and everybody should stay away.
Yeah. That's right.
Are there untapped areas?
I mean, do you
I'm
see-
watching people do some really stupid freaking things over
Right.
there. You have a lot of people that weren't there a year or two ago,
Right.
and now they're going and these investors are outbidding end users. Like,
Right,
how are
which
you
is
doing
crazy.
it? Unless it's money laundering, or unless you're a fucking moron,
Right. Which is possible.
or unless you're just trying to float your staff and not make any profit. How are you doing this?
Right.
So I get outbid left and right in Asbury to the point where I don't even bid on single family. If first of all, I haven't made an offer on an MLS listed property in over 2 years.
Right.
I won't waste my time. And an agent just came to me, a friend of your wife's, came to me and it was an off-market deal. Okay, let's go take a look. And then I
Right.
get there and it's not off-market. There's a sign there. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm not going to waste my time. Oh, just make an offer. No, because
Right.
my offers, when I make an offer, I have to. I'm a little neurotic and OCD about this, but I do full construction itemized takeoffs. I know exactly what something's going to cost me within 5% before I make my offer.
Right.
Yes, it's time consuming to do that, but it works. Why? So no, I'm not going to make an offer on your MLS listed property because it's going to take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to do that, and I'm going to get outbid. So
Right.
don't waste my time.
And I mean, do you think that's where the new kind of investors getting in the game, what their shortfall is? Is that why they're, overpaying for properties because they don't take the time to actually do that step?
People are speculating. I think people are saying, they're willing to, they're willing to take less money. 2, they don't really know how hard it is to flip a house.
Right. We're just doing some vacuuming. Don't
Vacuuming
mind-
in the hallway.
Don't mind
Is
me.
that I was wondering what that was. I thought that was him, like, throwing in sound effects in there or something. So they don't know what it takes to flip a house
Some
or build a
construction sound
house or
effects.
any of that stuff.
Right.
And they cut corners like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I'm going after a larger building, and next door was a house that was recently flipped by a first-time flipper. And I walk up and look. Somebody said, "Oh, look, this one. This is $800,000-$900,000 house, and they just flipped it." I said, "This is a fucking piece of shit. And anybody that buys this is going to be screwed."
Right.
You know, a couple of the porch piers they're so crooked because there's no, they weren't put on footings, so now your porch is in jeopardy of falling down, but they didn't fix that. And there's pressure treated lumber on the porches and the decks that they didn't cover with AZAC, and they didn't paint this and they didn't do that, and I know I can guarantee you there's a million electrical issues and a million plumbing issues that they didn't fix. When I flip a house, I don't flip a house. I go in and I completely repair everything that's problematic, whether it's going to get caught on a home inspection or not, because I have a responsibility, fiduciary responsibility to my buyer and a safety responsibility to my buyer to give them the best product that I could possibly give them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm kind of out of that flipping game. I now it's new construction, and I'm taking these, I'm doing a lot of add levels. But
Yeah, I would encourage people to go to VallarioPropertiesLLC.com because you have some photos of completed projects. I mean, you can tell, like, these aren't just, do the bare minimum and flip it. These all look like projects, probably because you almost lived in every one of these along the way. It looks like you treat it like you would want to live there.
My rule, and I've always said this, I will not rent somebody or sell somebody a house that I will not live in with my wife and children.
That's a good rule.
Right.
And I've notoriously taken less money, profit-wise, to improve all of the wrongs of the past on that particular house.
Right.
I spent, more money. I spend, a little bit more, and I charge a little bit less for my product.
Right.
Right. And that's why, I'm either getting full price or over asking price offers within a few days. I did a house in Asbury Park right before the market popped over there. And when I say popped, I mean like really ballooned up.
Right.
We got an over asking price offer within 12 hours of it hitting the MLS.
Wow. Wow.
So,
Do you list it yourself? Are you an agent? Or?
I'm a licensed agent. I do not. It's not my core competency to do that, nor do I have the time. I'm a one man show.
Okay.
So I'm a developer. So, but in that comes, my acquisition work, my disposition work, all of the research for all of that. I am my insurance advisor. I'm my legal advisor working with the attorneys. I'm my bookkeeper. I am my project manager on all the projects. There are many times that I actually will still strap on a tool belt if I got to make a budget work. I think I don't have that's not updated up there, but on that house in the top left corner, 1308 Langford, I did a lot of the finished carpentry in that one. I did.
I remember this.
Yeah,
I saw this.
I did all of the finished carpentry in 325 Highland Avenue, 325 Highland, which isn't up there. I did all of the trim carpentry in 48 Thomas Avenue, Shrewsbury, which isn't up there. Right. So I self-perform a lot of that the finished carpentry stuff. I can't do that anymore because I'm just too busy. But then I also have all my rentals where I'm managing that whole portfolio. And
do you have a management company, or it's you?
Well, I have my development company, which is Vallario Properties. I'm also a general contractor.
Okay.
So I've started in the last couple of months taking on other people's work management, construction management of other people's work. So I'm a non-performing general contractor. So
Okay.
basically, I'm a construction manager for larger projects. So if you want to do, an add-a level on your house, you want to do an addition on your house, you want to commission me to build you a house, I'll do that. Because there were so many opportunities that I was turning down for
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
It just made sense. I hired my first employee.
You did.
I did.
Nice.
Yeah, I was super excited. She was supposed to. What's today? Tuesday.
Yes.
She was supposed to start today.
Did she call in sick?
She sent me an email saying she got another job.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So my career, my life really has been a series of crossroads, right, and points in the road where it's like I'm standing in front of a cliff and there's no bridge, and there's that fear factor of, do I take that leap?
Right.
And that first leap was my first deal.
Yeah.
And that's and literally every deal after that, right? And then that next big leap that I was taking was, do I leave my full-time W-2 paying job?
Right.
And I did that, and it was a success. And now the one that I struggle with the most is hiring employees. Now,
Yeah.
my business will not continue to be successful or as successful as it can be if I don't hire employees.
Mm-hmm.
Allocate some of the work.
I need to. I'm doing $20 an hour jobs and not having time for the $1,000 an hour jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge struggle for me to get to that. And I managed, directly managed 75 people globally. So I
Yeah.
know how to manage people, but it's a different story when you're on a shoestring budget. How do I carve out money for operations and to grow my business and acquisitions and money for myself and my family to live, and then money for somebody else and their family to live, and then I've
Right.
got equipment. Now I've got to buy, equipment,
Yeah.
and it's always a struggle. So the whole point of the general contracting revenue was to build that side of the business in order to hire, a couple
Yeah.
all around carpenter type guys that can do rough work, masonry work, finish work, tile work, blah, blah, blah. And then have them, paid for out of, or have the general contracting business to help pay for that. And this way, when I'm flipping a house or building a house, it lowers my costs.
Yeah.
Right.
The margins are getting compressed because the prices are higher now. So
Mhm.
you have to always try to figure out ways to lower your costs. So
Yeah.
you can keep making your margin. And
As part of that, changing your target area, like, do you stay focused on like shorefront areas, or are you kind of starting to look in other places as well?
well, I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Right. And
It doesn't sound it. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
I'm lazy in terms
Like-
of I'd rather spend my time
With what you know.
analyzing a project or on-site managing a project rather than in my car driving to a project.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm a very, I'm a control freak, and my wife will attest to that. I'm not one of those guys that will say, "Here, manage this in Pennsylvania for me." It's
Right.
not me. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I need to touch and feel and look. I need to be involved. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. That's bad. It's good because nobody's going to care about my product more than me.
Sure.
It's bad because it's difficult scaling.
Yeah.
That type of model. But when I was in corporate America, I had to stay within a 20-minute ring of where I lived because I had another job.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of, I did a project up here in Shrewsbury.
Right.
I did that. That was my last one. And, I partnered with somebody on that who lives locally here. While I was finishing up Highland Ave, he was kind of getting all the rough work done. And this is somebody I've worked with, since the beginning of my business.
Right.
So I have a complete trust for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out great. He got me to the point where, the rough work was pretty much done. So my involvement to that point was, I'd come up 1 or 2 days a week.
Right.
I was taking care of all the ordering and all the coordination of materials and getting all that and all the back end stuff from my home office. but he was taking care of the on-site stuff. And then when it was time to do the finished carpentry, I came in and I did that.
Gotcha.
But Shrewsbury right now is the farthest I've gone.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of like that because I sort of agree with you. It's like, it's so much wasted time going to other, like something pops up and, I've got to drive an hour to my project just to see what's going on.
I won't do it.
And that's 2 hours out of your day because you got to get back too. You know what I mean?
Real estate is a backyard business.
Right.
Every book I used to read when I was, younger when I first started this was look around your neighborhood. There's so much money, especially where I live.
Right.
There's so much money down there.
Yeah.
And why do I need to go to other areas? People always want to be down the beach.
Right.
So why bother?
Yeah.
Why bother going anywhere else?
It's true.
I live in Belmar. I'm surrounded by Spring Lake Heights, Avon, Bradley, Asbury Park, Ocean Grove, Neptune. All these areas which offer buyers something different in each one.
Right.
Neptune and sections of Asbury Park are still, hot areas for millennials to buy their first homes.
Yeah, Shark River Hills is a nice
325 Highland Avenue, Shark River Hills.
Yeah. Oh, is it really? Yeah. It's a hot section.
Yeah.
Right off 18.
Yep.
You're right back next to Belmar.
Yeah, you
It's
can
right
you can still get a house for $300,000 to $600,000. You're getting first time home buyers in there. But and then you have your other markets. You have your Belmar markets, which are your second home markets, or we're getting a lot more primary residents down there. But but that's in the $7 to $1.5 million range, and then you have your Spring Lake market, which is $2, $3, $4, $15 million. So you have all these markets that offer something different for everybody.
Right.
But the one thing that they offer everyone is proximity to the beach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And people have this fascination with being by the water.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's cool.
Long Branch is constantly on its way up too.
I can't stand Long Branch.
You can't say. Why is that?
Oh my God. Why is I shouldn't talk negatively about another town, but Long Branch sucks. Why is that? Back in the day before I purchased that property, my first flip in Asbury Park, I bounced around Long Branch for a long time.
Okay.
Looking at all these multifamilies on Morris and Norwood over there, Bath Ave. I almost bought this beautiful asbestos-laden 5-family house on Bath, which was I should have bought it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a couple offers, but it was a short sale, and the guy couldn't get it approved. Blah blah blah. But wound up trading, and it needed several $100,000 worth of work, but it would have been a great little asset to have because it's on Bath Avenue, it's a 5-family, blah blah blah. But I was under contract on a place on 4-family on Cleveland, and it's a huge amount of rentals in Long Branch.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of those rentals in that Chelsea, Morris, Bath area are construction workers.
Mm-hmm.
So what did we see during the last downturn? None of those guys had jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
So that rental market was really struggling. It's that rental market over there is very cyclical.
Yeah.
And if you get something in West Long Branch, before I bought Spring Lake Heights at the auction, I was going after a place in West Long Branch, and I kicked myself in the ass for not buying it. West Long Branch is great. And maybe some around the hospital over there, if you wanted to get into that whole, if you have a good product, and you want to get into that whole medical rental market, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Monmouth University, great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the rest of Long Branch is trying to attach itself to Pier Village, but it's still, there's a reason why you go downtown, Broadway, whatever that street is, and it still looks like that.
Yeah.
Look what Asbury Park did in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I think geographically there's some challenges there because you have this highway that separates the downtown area from the beach area.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just logistically, how do you compensate for that? Just clear physical division spaces, right? So there's that to deal with. You have all those, all the properties. I don't know. I haven't been to Long Branch in several months. So
Mhm.
it has all that stuff on Broadway been torn down. The vacant stuff. I know
I'm not
they've,
sure.
they've tried so many times to get this redevelopment thing going. And
I know
they
over the
just-
summer they leveled entire sections.
They did.
by Ocean Ave. Yeah,
They did.
Yeah.
And you know, if a developer came in there and you know, if you build it, we will come type of
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Right.
somebody needs to go in there and just build something. And eventually the area will start to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
right now they're asking top dollar prices like things have already
yeah,
Right.
gone through that cycle, but they haven't.
yeah. And there's still actual crime in Long Branch, certain sections. You know,
It's crime everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
that's why everybody's like, "Oh, Asbury's dangerous. Asbury's dangerous." You got to realize Asbury's a city.
yeah,
Every city has crime.
yeah,
Right.
You know, you go to New York City, leave your cars unlocked, your shit will get stolen.
yeah, sure.
You know,
yeah,
walk around like a drunk buffoon, you will get punched in the face in the city.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know, in Asbury Park, you know, it's a city.
Yeah.
You know, and cities need to be respected for that, and that's the beauty of a city. You have such a diverse group of people coming together in one location.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Adds culture too.
yeah.
Right. So it sounds like for like many years you just worked like around the clock.
I
What
like
do
to
you
work.
What do you do when you punch out?
I don't.
I mean, I know you
I work.
coach. You coach some soccer.
No, I don't.
You don't. I
No.
thought you did.
No, I'm the least athletic person in the world. If it were up to me, my kids wouldn't do anything athletic. My kids are in soccer because my wife makes us do that. Right.
There you go.
You know,
Do you? I mean, you've lived by the beach for a long time. Do you actually ever enjoy the beach?
yeah, we go to the beach. I have
That's
a beach
cool.
locker.
Nice.
I'm 3 blocks to the beach. We walk to the beach. We get our stuff out of the beach locker. We sit on the beach and I dig holes.
Right.
So when you have children, you go to the beach. Your life becomes a series of holes.
Yes.
So I sit on
Is
the
that to
beach.
put them in?
I have a shovel.
Put your head in.
I have a shovel, a real shovel,
Right.
and I sit there. And my 4-year-old is, "Daddy, dig me a hole, dig me a hole." So I go and dig her a hole. The water washes the sand in there. I dig another hole. So
Right.
I never actually. My wife sits down and she relaxes, big smile on her face, sitting in the sun, and I'm walking along the beach digging a million fucking holes. But you know, I'm building my kids' pools, right?
Right.
And it's great because I know I could. You know, there's that commercial. There's no deep couch sitting.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen the commercial. It's a guy chasing around after his toddler, and he tries to sit down on the couch, but he doesn't fully sit down on the couch.
Right.
So there's no deep couch sitting when you have kids.
It's true, man.
So I could dig a hole if I
Yeah.
dig a hole big enough, and I could do some deep chair sitting for like at least 5 minutes.
Right.
Because my kids will play in that hole
Yeah.
until it fills in.
So that's the secret, man. Like,
Yeah.
when my son, like he was about a year and a half, I guess it was, that summer. There was literally no deep chair sitting. It was like you would start getting down toward your chair, and the dude was off. Like,
Yeah.
all his favorite thing was just to run on the beach.
Yeah.
And he would go like and just keep going. He was like Forrest Gump, like.
Yeah, this summer we mastered. I have a 3.5-year-old and a 9-month-old. We managed every time we went to the beach to get them to nap in the tent at the same time.
Yeah, I've seen you padlock that tent.
Yeah, we put a tent up, like
It's
a half tent.
120 degrees.
That's right. It's got
fucking in there and go to sleep.
it's got windows, right? We got
They're not
the-
asleep.
We got
they're
the
like
sound machine.
heat exhaustion.
The
But we-
What's that?
The
we
tent's
know-
black.
Yeah, we know we have
Plastic.
45 minutes of like actually getting down, and that's where the beers come in. You crack one, and my wife and I are like, "This is freaking worth it."
I'm going next to this guy's town. He's got beers. And
Oh,
stuff.
it's stocked right next to Anchor's Bend in Asbury. That's where we set for it.
Check that out.
Do you like surf and fish, or
I like to fish. I don't have time. It's hard to fish. I take the kids surf fishing whenever I can, but you know they like to run around playing. It's hard.
yeah?
And I'm a shitty fisherman, but yeah. So I should do more of that. You know, I spend time with my family. You know,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You know, we're at home a lot. You know, I've got right now. I'm finishing my basement. So I'm doing it myself. So I started this project 17 years ago, and I'm almost done. My wife wants it done. My wife wants it done before Thanksgiving, and I said, yeah. And then
You have a week.
yeah, no, it's not going to happen. And to be honest, I could probably finish it in 3 fucking days, but
Right.
it's just you know what comes first, you know, something that generates revenue,
Right.
or something that generates pleasure.
Yeah.
And I've always had that difficult decision-making process.
Yeah.
It's always been difficult for me. So
Right.
I've always the good thing about me, you know, what generates revenue is what drives pleasure.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's not like
cool.
it's not work. I don't, you know, my business is my life.
Right.
And so, you know, when you say, what do you do when you clock out? Well, what's clocking out? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I'm always, you know, if it's 8 o'clock at night and I'm answering emails or getting stuff ready for tomorrow morning, you know, is that work? You know, am I on the clock? Am I off the clock?
Right.
Don't forget, I work out of my house.
Right.
So my work life is just fully ingrained in the rest of my life. You know, we just went away last week to Turks and Caicos, and you know, I almost didn't go because everything on my Asbury job was, you know, I had concrete being poured, I had the framing was starting, and I had this going, I had deliveries, and I was like, holy shit, everything's happening. I need inspections. I need to be there that week.
Right.
And you know, I got to look at that from my wife, and yeah, my wife is she's Israeli. I don't know if anybody's ever dated.
Did you do some military time?
No, she didn't. She left Israel before that time,
Right.
but
Sounds like somebody not to mess with. Is that what you're implying?
she's a tiny little thing, and she scares me.
Right.
Like I know she's not listening, so I need you guys to help.
Send help.
So no.
Yeah, right now I'm blowing fog into a window. Right.
Help.
No, she's you know, she is she's a fireball.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I know not to. You know, I could push the line, but I know not to cross
Yeah.
it.
That's right. So do you feel like you've become, you know, you were up on the beams of your Belmar project and you saw that dude riding his bike with the kids checking out his jobs?
Who I've since become very good friends with.
Have you?
Actually, yes,
That's cool.
I was running for council the first time, and I was at some function, getting up, making a speech, and he was in the audience, and I told this, and he didn't know any of this,
Right.
and he didn't know me. Yeah, that was the first night he had met me.
Uh-huh.
And I said, look, I said, you know, yeah, you gotta tell why you're in Belmar, why you want to make Belmar better. And I told the story. Second and A condo project. The guy right there was the owner, and he's the whole reason. He just looked at me, and after that, he shook my hand. He's like, you know, he said, that's a great story. I said, it's not bullshit. It's true. Like,
Right.
literally, I've coined it, the Brett blah 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 lifestyle, because everybody's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was
Right.
I want the Brett blah 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 lifestyle. And
Right.
that's
Yeah.
my mantra since I was 19 years old,
That's
20
cool.
years old, and I finally got to meet and befriend that guy.
Right.
And yeah, I see him all the time. We chat, and he calls me. I call him. Actually, we're chasing the same deal right now.
Right.
But
So
yeah, he's an amazing man.
Is that lifestyle as appealing as it looked back then?
Yeah, he's raised a bunch of kids. He's got a bunch of properties. He's a snowbird. You know, he spends a lot of time in Florida. Always got a smile on his face.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Always got a smile on his face. So.
Sweet.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. All right. So what's next for Vallario Properties?
I've got 3 letters of intents out on some multifamily stuff. One of them's a mixed use. Trying to coordinate those purchases with the owners, all off-market stuff. Building that house in Asbury Park on Langford, right next door to the one of those properties up there.
Right.
At one point in 2016, I bought Langford Street in that section. It was a 4-parcel block on the east side. I bought 3 of the 4 parcels on that east side, so I essentially almost owned the entire east side of that block.
Right.
In 2016, and one of them was a renovation, which I sold. The other one was a gut out of a 2-family, which I moved a bunch of police officers in to clean up that block.
Nice.
I still own that, and then the other one was an empty lot, which is now where I'm building that big house. So I've got that. I've got the Spring Lake Heights house. I've got 3 letters of intent for larger multifamily stuff, and I've identified an area down here which I really, really like, which is kind of ripe for that whole if you build it, they will come scenario.
Right.
So I'm working with 2 other folks to create a market, to basically build a haven for artists and niche businesses, eateries that are getting pushed out of Asbury Park.
Right.
Because of higher rents and,
Yep.
and things of that nature. You know, the underground people that made Asbury Park cool, which are slowly getting forced out.
Right.
I would like to build a haven for them to recreate that type of thing.
Are you allowed to disclose where?
No. I'm allowed.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We'll talk after. I'm very curious.
We're gonna follow you out of here.
Not a
man.
fucking moron.
No, but that's an important point because all of this development comes at a price, and usually it's the people hurt by it the most are the people who did the heavy lifting early on, right?
Yeah.
They're like the forgotten. Like I've seen it. You see it happen in like Williamsburg, Jersey City.
Yeah.
You know, like the
Well,
people
even Red Bank right now, the west side of Red Bank off Shrewsbury Ave, you're getting those organic coffee shops popping up.
Right.
You're getting that different culture.
Those are the groundbreakers.
Yeah.
And I want to harness those people that are priced out of Asbury Park, give them a product that's cool,
Yeah.
that's affordable, and really they'll do the work for me.
Yeah.
I just got to provide the space,
Yeah.
and they'll do the rest of the work. So
Nice.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah, definitely. At some point, be interested in hearing more about that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Off record.
wait till see after it's launched. You come back and
I'm sure you work on some of the contracts.
once you
You do a portion of my legal work, but attorney-client privilege, you can't say shit.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks for coming in. I'm glad we were able to tell you. Now you know what a podcast is, and you can actually listen to the MulletCast. I thought you had heard it before. And
No, I see you posting it all the time. I'm thinking to myself, I call this guy. I'm like, oh shit, I need this done, and I see him posting all this shit on the MulletCast. I'm like, this motherfucker on this goddamn podcast. He's a fucking attorney. Why isn't he doing fucking legal work? Why is he on the goddamn radio doing radio work when he should be doing legal work?
Yeah.
Like, and I'll leave like these snarky messages like, oh, call me back. Like, where are you?
That's right. My favorite explanation of that ever was Jason Dukes, who's a business coach, came in and he was like, it's funny. People will give you grief. They're like, how do you have time to do this, do
I don't
that,
know how you have
and do
time.
the other, right? And he's like, meanwhile, all those people are like watching your,
Yeah.
Well, I could give you. I mean,
Spending your
I'll
time
tell you how
too.
he has time. He's kind of a shitty attorney, right?
That's right.
I'm kidding.
That's right. Believe me, I'm hanging my kite on this podcasting thing, man.
You're really going for it here, huh?
It's kind of like when you took that leap from BlackRock,
I hope this podcast works
This
out.
is your way out.
That's
Yeah.
'Cause I almost failed out of law school.
That's right. I'm looking to do the same thing. All right, cool.
Wait. Where did you go to law school?
That's I can't talk about that either. It's in the news a lot lately.
Seriously?
Off the record.
We'll talk about that after. It's the Harvard of Lansing, Michigan. Let's put it that way.
I'm not a worldly individual, so I know what I know, and that's about it.
All right, Josh, thanks again for coming in. Once
you
again,
all.
we got Josh Vallario from Vallario Properties. Check him out on Facebook at Vallario Properties LLC, and you can check out his website, VallarioPropertiesLLC.com.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Josh.